Which war would you rather fight in? All terrible choices. Vietnam jungle, Western Front trenches of World War One, or World War Two Bastogne.
Man, I
Those are
don't
all
recall.
terrible.
Tell me about Bastogne. Is that the really cold one?
It
That's the
was
really
in Band
cold
of
one in
Brothers.
France,
It's
right?
super cold. They were in snowy foxholes, and artillery would just come out of nowhere and kill some of you.
Yeah.
So
You were freezing to death the whole time, getting frostbite, no supplies getting through the lines.
these are terrible options because, like, the Bastogne one, if that's the thing I'm thinking about in the Ardennes Forest or wherever it was, maybe. I think, like you said, the mortars were coming in, the artillery was coming in, and the trees were splintering and blowing people up. People were getting frostbitten toes and shit. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it seemed like within a day's walk or half a day's walk behind you was a decent sized town with soup and women. But you were out there in that hole. I think I take Bastogne and I fucking desert because there's somewhere to desert too. I can fucking hurt myself a little, and then I'm over there with the women and the soup. However, if I'm in Nam, oh my God, forget about the snakes and the spiders and the foot-long centipedes crawling about and the ants. The ants, they always talk about the ants. Forget about you're sweaty every day, all day, and you haven't had a shower in God knows how long. Charlie's out there, all right? You never know when you're going to step in a hole that's full of punji sticks covered in human shit, and you're going to lose your feet. You never know when you're going to get gut shot out there, and they're not going to realize that you're not dead. They're just going to leave you behind, and you're going to wake up and your intestinal cavity is full of bullet ants or some shit. Charlie's out there, and he's coming for you. I'm not doing Nam. Now, the World War I thing, that trench warfare, everybody imagines the trench perhaps as a dry sort of trench.
Yeah.
The problem was there's a thing called trench foot, which I don't think was even a thing before World War One. They were like, oh
They
yeah,
invented trench foot.
They invented a new horrible thing to happen to people in World War One, I think, called trench foot. All right.
Let's see some pictures of trench foot.
Oh, please no. It's where your feet just stay wet for long periods of times, and they basically just rot off your goddamn body. Now, if that's not bad enough, you've got gas.
Oh,
Right? Shell shock. It is both synonymous with PTSD and an actual thing that happened because there was so much goddamn shelling during that war. You're stuck in this fighting position looking at the enemy 300 yards away for years sometimes at a time. People getting stuck in the barbed wire. Depending on what side you're on, like if you're not facing the chemical attacks, if you're a German, then you never know when the Brits are going to tunnel up under your position and just blow you the fuck up. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to take Bastogne, and I'm definitely going to get shot in the thigh meat on like day one. Like just as soon as they show me my foxhole, I'm going to wait till I can see the medic, and my sidearm is going to go off mistakenly.
It's going to get your love handle. Oh, shucks.
Fucking the Jerry's got me.
It's just a flesh wound, Kyle. Yeah, but I need my flesh. I'll see you in town. What's the soup of the day?
What's the soup of the day?
I'm going to go with Bastogne too. Man, I just feel like it would be possible to stay warm. Yeah, I've slept in very cold before, and if I just get enough of the stuff, collect some coats off the dead guys, you can make yourself a little heat cabin there. Vietnam, it just seems so inescapable. Also, maybe it's just because I'm American and we kind of romanticize World War II. I believe in the cause. You're there, Battle of Bastogne, trying to free a people from being wiped off the face of the earth. Vietnam, what was the cause exactly? Prevent the spread
of a proxy war with the Soviet Union.
Yeah, built on lies, I'm not getting into it. And World War One, what Archduke of Ferdinand or something?
Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand. Why is he my top priority again?
There were a lot of treaties, and that triggered this country to start a war, and then that triggered this country to come in and defend them, and that triggered another country to come in and attack them, and it just became a gigantic mess.
Yeah. It's almost like a schoolyard fight where no one wants to participate. They're all just need to somehow.
No, it's like a hockey fight or a baseball fight where it's like, all right, clear the benches. Fucking Omar beamed another guy. Let's go.
What I like about those baseball fights is like you can see like the guys who are really excited about it, who are like, "Let's go, boys!" Like hopping up, ready to go. And then you can see other guys on the team who are like, "Yeah, let me grab my hat and quick sip of water. Let me take my
watch
weights off the bat. And all right, let's. Oh, it's already scrum's almost over. I'll go over there and I'll grab the shirt of two of my teammates and go, ah. Those baseball fights are interesting. I want to see one go ham and like fists be thrown, but it seems to be more rare in baseball. I imagine because the punishments are probably
It's rare in hockey.
severe.
I love World War II stuff, but I want to learn more about World War I stuff.
Tarawa.
World War I is criminally underdone. It's a cool war, and no one talks about it ever.
I like learning about the gas attacks. I like learning about I don't know that it was cool. It's just
interesting. It was interesting seeing the pivot from old style war to new style war.
Yeah, there were cavalry charges into machine guns and barbed wire, and it was like, wait, you just wish that someone had been like, oh shit,
dude, that was
this
a huge.
Gonna work.
Yeah, like that may have even been World War II, or maybe it was World War I. No, it was World War I, like where the Polish responded to the Nazi armament infantry. Yeah, the winged hussar. They respond against the armament that the Nazis had, and they just got absolutely blown apart.
Well, they weren't Nazis.
The Kaisers. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself.
Crowd-eating Kaisermen.
Well, no one seems to. What was their thing? No one ever talks about how much they disliked the Kaiser. Probably because the Kaiser was probably like, people will remember me for 100 years. It's like try 13, bitch, because another guy's gonna show up and he's gonna steal the
World
show.
War I was the one where when Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated, there was just, because of all of the treaties and pacts between every country in the world, it was like, oh, you're going to war with them, well, we're going to war with you. You're going to war with them, well, we're going to war with you. And it was like, you just wish that there had been telecommunications, because that someone could be like, whoa, hang on, let's get on Zoom, guys. Hang on. We could fix this.
You know what war nobody talks about that's a great one? The Chadian-Libyan Great Toyota War.
I've never heard of this.
1987.
I'd love to be educated.
It is a war that was fought primarily in the truck bed of Toyota trucks. And what they did, if I remember correctly, was they had littered the area with landmines, but because you could floor the Toyota, you could go over the landmines before they were trigger and detonate. That's how they infiltrated.
They need to put that in a commercial.
Yeah. The
infiltration.
Libya lost 1/10 of its army, 7,500 men, and $1 billion of military equipment. But yeah, the Great Toyota War.
Chad. It's looking like Chad. Well, it looks like France was offering some help to Chad there, so I guarantee the French help with Chad. I don't imagine Chad had a big military. I imagine France showed up with some then Libya had to be like, oh no, that's a trained military, and they also have Toyotas. Look at that guy; he's got a new Pathfinder, or whatever the fuck it's called. That's a neat.
That's why I named it the Pathfinder.
Camrys, everybody run.
Yeah, everyone's in a war Corolla, like it's Mad Max coming out of the optional sunroof with a spear. That'd be great. Yeah, that's a huge L. Only 1,000 people killed from the France/Chad alliance.
Truly,
Libya, Chad. Shit pushed in. And if you want to know someone who knows about getting his shit pushed in, it's Muammar Gaddafi, because of how he
streak
died.
Of L's.
Poor Gaddafi.
Or no, was he the guy that was?
He was the guy who got shoved, torn apart, and shit shoved in him, right? And then his head was on a stake.
I think that was
it. Yeah. They sodomized Gaddafi with a pole or something. Well, the people who didn't like him. No, it was Libya. You remember?
I'm pretty sure. We bombed them. This was a whole thing, and then Gaddafi got overthrown, and they raided him. They sodomized him, and then they tore him apart and put his head on a stake.
Gaddafi was another guy who was a previously rational actor until something in the wind changed and he became a madman.
So what? So
how does this keep happening?
I always lean on that. This guy is an ally, like Saddam Hussein. That is a madman.
It's holy shit. That I always thought World War I would have been the worst war to fight in. No, Civil War changed my mind. World War I is a second place, but
Civil War would be the worst for sure.
Yeah, I remember. I've heard about it recently. Someone was telling me about something they'd seen on the Civil War, and something about this big battle where there was a no man's land, and the Union troops had to like go up a hill across exposed territory for like a couple hundred yards into Southern gunfire, and they're just getting massacred in this field. And night falls, and they're all out there moaning and begging for water.
Yeah.
And one Southern soldier is out there like going from man to man, giving them water, and nobody would shoot him. And I think they called him like the saint of whatever battle it was. Let's call it the saint of whatever hill or whatever the fuck, because he was out there. And God, the suffering and all that, and man, that was a really shitty war. I think about like the impact of those slow moving heavy musket balls, and it's just so much nastier than a high velocity rifle impact.
I don't know. I know through my experiences playing Battlefield 1, that's a pretty crazy war. World War I. Yeah.
When they break out the Martini Henry, it is.
Yeah.
All the trench foot.
Black powder, motherfucker. That's the gun from Zulu. You ever see Zulu where they like slaughter 3,000 black?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Same
Zulu.
gun.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a
they
true
were just
story, isn't it?
just slaughtering waves of these guys.
I used to wonder what that looked like exactly, because when I hear about old school battles, right? Like what was 300? The Battle of Thermopylae? Do I have that right?
Thermopylae. The what do you call it?
The
gates.
small pass and
The
whatever.
hot gate.
Yeah, the hot gates.
So, weren't there like 100,000 Greeks? I can't think of many modern wars with 100,000.
There were 300 Spartans, and then there were like a couple thousand other Greeks from city-states, but there were like they say millions of Persian soldiers, but that's probably like old-timey math
Crazy,
where they're like,
right?
how many could that be? I mean, nobody's ever counted this high. Like, what could it be? What number's high? What's the highest number we know? 900,000. What would be higher than that? I don't know, a million?
Like,
That's
how many
there
people
are?
were in Normandy, right? Like 10,000? I don't even know what a good number would be.
Oh, way more than that.
The invasion was huge. It was tens of thousands of men landing.
20,000?
Yeah, it was tens of
30,000?
More.
Yeah.
Well, you got to like the initial beach invasion might have only been a few handfuls of thousand, maybe 15,000 or something, but they kept landing men, for days and weeks to come. They call it D-Day plus, and then they count the days after D-Day.
So it's a much bigger number than I thought. 156,000.
425,000 were killed, Allied and German combined, were killed, wounded, or went missing during Normandy. Almost 500,000.
Jesus.
It says this is on
209.
D-Day. On D-Day, 156,000 troops in Normandy. And then it breaks it down. 73,000. What is this? The American forces numbered 73,000. 23,000 on Utah Beach and 34,000 on Omaha and 15,000 airborne. But yeah, anyway, 156,000 total, 73,000 Americans. That's bigger than I thought. But like I hear about these wars where like hundreds of thousands or 500,000 people supposedly were there. And I just think, how does that even work? Like, what does the front line look like? Are there picnics up one block back? Just like,
Yeah, there have to be. There have to be. But supply lines have to work like that. Maybe up in front we have just absolute hell on earth. But 100 yards back that way, it's got to be a casual fucking conversation. It's got to be like, yes, they're dying quite badly up there, aren't they?
Right?
Yes, they are.
I'm nervous about when that gets to us.
Yeah.
I hope our guys are really good.
Because in everything I've read, I don't think the Spartans were shooting arrows back. It was the opposite. They were the ones under the archer fire and such. But
World War I, they had that just a stalemate for literally years, where they were on each side of those trenches, and it barely moved, and just back behind your lines was command and control and hospitals and people just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. I think that's such a weird way to fight war, because it seemed like in the old days it was like, yeah, we're going to war and we'll be back when war is over. But from this day forth, we're in the war and we're fighting. And then you look at like I watched MASH back in the day. That was Korea. And you look at Vietnam, I know more about that. And the guys are like, yeah, 2 more weeks and then I get to go for R&R. Like, they're going to fly me to, Japan
Seoul
Japan or South Korea or something, and I'm gonna get like pussy and liquor and like a nice room and like drink with my buddies, and then a week after that I'm back here in hell. Like that was a new thing, I think, when that started happening. Like that must have been, that's so weird to me to put myself in that guy's shoes, to those two contrasting things. I certainly wouldn't turn down that R&R like you begged for it. You'd do anything you could do to get it, I would think, but it still has to be weird to be like, yeah, tomorrow I'm going. Just imagine how afraid you would be if like today's Friday and tomorrow, if you make it back from this mission, there's liquor, beer, and pussy to come tomorrow. And even more, you want to raise it to the next level, we're going home tomorrow, but we got to go on a mission today. I'd be like, fuck today's mission. Write me up. Put me in jail. I'm not going on a mission today if we're quitting tomorrow. That's fucking horseshit. I'm not going out to pitch the first 4 innings if you're just going to forfeit the game.
After a weekend, going to work Monday sucks. Never mind getting leave where you're fucking and then having to go and get shot at again.
Yeah.
It was better than like the way the Japanese handled it, where like in World War II, we'd be like, all right, you're shipping off to England for a couple weeks to get a little relaxation before you're back in it. The Japs, it was just like, oh, you just stay in your holes and fight until you die. If you have to eat one another, so be it. Yeah. But don't give up that shitty little hole on that island you don't even use for anything. I remember like when I was maybe 7, 8 years old, we would have chores every weekend. And like my mom would be like, all right, Taylor, you're on bathroom duty. You're on kitchen duty, like scrubbing the floor and stuff. And one time I unknowingly mixed bleach and vinegar, not knowing, that makes chlorine gas.
Bleach and ammonia.
Bleach and, is that it? Mm-hmm. Bleach and ammonia? Whatever makes...
I've made my share of gases.
Okay, well, it was bleach and ammonia then.
I've used them for rats before.
I remember like I'm a little kid and I like start wiping the countertop and I'm like, I feel sick, and I just left the room and I nothing ever came of it. It's because I didn't make a big pot of it. I was just like a kid, so I was like, multiple cleaning agents, I'll be done twice as fast. And
yeah, that stuff's
just
really
spraying
dangerous.
them onto the wall. Thank God it was a tiny like spritz amount of it, but that still makes enough to like get you coughing and feel sick.
I guess that's chlorine gas.
I think so.
Have you ever seen the video, the black and white video of World War I, when they would unleash a big wave of it? They would do it on a day where, I don't know, air pressure was and the wind direction was conducive to this, but they would basically just have like giant vats of it poured together on the battlefield, and like because of the weather conditions, it would create this low-lying fog because the chlorine gas is so heavy, it gets low to the ground in this thick little fog,
the trenches,
and it flows. Yeah. It starts creeping toward the enemy lines, and there's nothing to do against it except for piss in a rag and throw it on your face, or use that gas mask you were issued 8 months ago, right? Like,
it sounds terrifying. Imagine seeing the death fog just rolling in, and that's a slow, painful death. You might not even be able to outrun it if you just totally abandoned your station.
All your mucous membranes go into like overdrive, and the ones in your lungs especially. So you begin drowning on your own like fluids essentially, while like your eyes, nose, throat, everything are just like foaming.
They should make it so you can be safe on top of the trenches, right? Like all you need is a little sandbag so that you can get above the trench, right? Am I crazy?
Not like they didn't have.
Well, then
that's where the guns are.
That's where the bullets are.
But the guns. All you need is a small hill above the hole. Like if there's just a hole, then you get out of the hole, you die. If there's a hole next to a small wall, then you can be out.
I feel like it'd be like everybody's in the trench and they're like, smoke's coming in, head for the hill, and the Germans are like, they're all running for the hill as planned.
No, I'm just picturing a sandbag wall a couple feet away from the trench that you can be on the ledge.
I think the issue is that you've got like a trench that's like miles and miles wide that has to be manned all the time because they're you've been butting forces somewhere in France with the Germans for
I think I'm not explaining myself. When you make a trench, you have excess dirt.
They put that in sandbags and they pile them up.
And now you can exist outside the trench behind the sandbags.
No.
I don't think that's as safe.
No.
I don't know.
I would say if the trenches didn't work, they wouldn't have done them because they didn't seem like fun.
No, but I feel like they were.
But the trench is let you stand upright.
Again.
Anyway,
you also would have lived in the trench. People would have got chlorine gas
an artist
during their
rendering.
nap.
I'm not opposed to the idea. I just need a drawing.
Well, you're in luck.
Can we
I
take 10,
draw
15 minutes?
on a first grade
No,
level.
dude, Woody, I want one of those like 4chan level MS Paint drawings of how you imagine the hill, the trenches, do all that.
Bro,
like I could even do that.
No, the worse it is, the funnier.
because if you think that let me ask you this, Woody. Do you think that if you could go back to World War I in a time machine and you could give them this tip, do you think that you could save lives?
I'm processing it. I think that it's not that I'm smarter than these soldiers of World War I.
Of course not. No.
It's just that I have a glimpse into their future, which involves chlorine gas. So rather than put the sandbags at the edge of the wall, push them back. See what we have here? A wall. Where did all the dirt go that made that trench? Zach, put your mouse in, like your
Is it
in front of the guy. There should be like a sandbag with holes in it that people are shooting through in front of his face.
Okay,
It might have been a resource issue because you're building miles of wall. If you have miles of wall, you can't double your effort to build sandbags and shit when the hole blocks all the bullets.
Where did the dirt go they used to make the trench? They removed dirt
it looks like
from
Woody
the
ground
trench.
line on the right side. Ground
See, they
line,
put it behind them. That's a terrible mistake. Put it in front of them, and then they
Woody, they're making a little hill behind them to your specifications.
It's in the wrong spot.
Woody, I just don't understand in what scenario
you can shoot through the hole in the sandbags. It's gonna be delightful. You're gonna love my trench idea.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that was done many times. But let's just say we put some sandbags with a hole in front of them in front of this man. How does that save him from chlorine gas?
Because he can climb out of the trench and be behind the sandbags.
No, he would have to. It's going to flow over the top and then down into the trench. So it's going to flow over the fucking sandbags and over wherever he is and keep going down in a massive wave that probably lasts for like an hour.
Wait a
so
minute,
unless he's standing on his tiptoes on top, like stretching up out here, he's gonna choke on it.
Zach, bring the image back up.
Bring the image back up because we have misinterpreted this image entirely. Look at what this is showing. This is
showing the back shitting.
No, they're showing a scenario in which this man can go prone and like be underground and shoot through a fucking hole, right? Is that not what I'm looking at? Look at how he's in position B right now. Look at what C, B, and A are. In A, he is in a prone position, firing through some sort of hole.
Wait, no. But look at that. That's like follow the ground line, and it shows depending on where the ground line is with that dotted line, the different positions you would take. So A is if the ground line is barely lower than the shooting position. B is if it's medium level, and then D down there, or C, you can see his right leg up, and then D, both feet down in the deepest trench. You see what I mean? That ground line. Yeah.
You can tell by and like see the M there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
That is for it's like passing treats, snacks, trinkets.
Oh, okay.
Mustaches.
Oh, they got it's no. It's like one of those sushi conveyor belt things. They got a string.
Yeah.
And it's just grenades, and it's like, oh, I think I will have a grenade.
Is M for?
I think
really
it's
baffled.
I think it's for like passing stuff between the two sides, so you don't.
Am I the only one that
when you pass
struggles
the
like looking at
wall?
stuff like this? Like I feel like I don't look at L and G. There's some kind of a fucking crawl space underneath.
There's a bunch of stuff. So, war isn't like they knew what people were doing. They built these things sequentially. They would build something. The other side would come up with something like chlorine gas that would destroy the trench's usefulness. And then they would build their trenches differently to survive the chlorine gas or do gas.
You didn't address LNG at all. I think they're just storage areas, Kyle.
Well, L was a retaining wall to like keep it together, I think.
Okay,
Thank you.
Can we please? Oh,
color.
Well, we're in color now. Okay, so Woody, please show me how we defend against the.
They're kind of doing it here. Do you see the sandbags? All he needs to do is lay down behind the sandbags.
You still die there. Where the fuck do you think the chlorine gas flows over?
Drifter.
Sorry.
I need a chance to talk too. My theory was that the gas was heavy and going through the trench to get to you. It was traveling in the trench, not that it traveled over the.
Oh, yeah, no.
So that's where my mistake comes in.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's traveling toward your trench, perpendicular to it from
it's
the
very
enemy.
heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it had seeped into like the first heavy thing it found, and then it was traveling via trench to.
No, it roils along the ground, and it finds all the hidey holes and tunnels. Like it goes down and like.
That's why, like each side.
But
use
that
it
wasn't even the
on the
most effective way to use it. I'm describing like one instance where I watched them do this thing where they just combined it raw and like created the gas and let it flow like that. That's the shitty way to do it. eventually they used artillery shells to deliver it and mortar rounds to deliver it, so they could pinpoint accurately, explode the gas right amongst the enemy, and do it in such a cluster that like instantly a whole line, like hundreds and thousands of people are getting exposed to this gas and going blind.
You asked Woody, you were like, if you go back in time and you share this info, do you think you could save lives? I go back in time to World War I. They go, we're about to send troops, we're about to get moving. I go, guys, don't even waste your time on this one. Let it happen. There's gonna be another guy in about 13 years. Save your resources for that guy. I'm telling you. Like, no, we have to get over there. Trust me on this. Let this happen. Let World War I play out. We save up all our resources for World War II. You know how much we took advantage of the UK, France, all those countries, us giving them huge amounts of resources for loans they couldn't possibly pay back. That then we made them take like manufacturing contracts in our country in the 50s, like, and that helped like our economy grow in a big way. Like we could do that to an even bigger extent. We go, nope, sorry, World War I, we're not jumping in. We have a hunch because of this really smart guy with a normal size head and normal BMI came back in time, and he told us not to waste time because there's a mustachioed motherfucker coming up in the next 13 years. I would be a hero.
To be fair, you sure that there would be a World War II if you prevented World War I?
Well, we don't know.
He's going to prolong. See, the problem with that is Hitler's fighting in World War I, right? Well, it's his main. Everybody jokes about the art thing, but Hitler was upset about the way World War I ended, and he felt that that Germany was a military power that, at the very least, could have sued for a better deal at the end, because Germany got really fucked at the end. They were just like, whatever you want, take it. They did one of those when in reality they could have been. They had a better bargaining position.
Is that the Treaty of Versailles? Right?
And I don't think so, but I'm not great with that. That I thought Versailles was World War II, but I'm. No, it's It's the what's the one from Sopranos? They make fun of it. Like he said it wrong. But I'm not gonna. It doesn't matter.
Something Accords.
Yeah. It's the one where Stalin and Churchill and FDR are all there together.
He's a fucking interior designer from Czechoslovakia.
It's like
what you're talking about.
It's like the compassed, fucking can't roll off my tongue thing.
Potsdam Agreement.
That's it.
Did I get it?
You got it. No, that's what I needed. I'm just too late to fucking do it, apparently. It's better if I struggle for it.
I like to tap keys while I think. Otherwise, I'll just end up rewatching the original Band of Brothers, which is a great thing to rewatch. It's tremendous.
I love Band of Brothers. I'm sorry, cut you off. I super loved it when it came out. But when I watch it now, I'm like, oh, you know what? It turns out that a lot of this isn't the part that I loved about it. Like, I want to say there are 8 episodes, and the last 2 are kind of not World War II anymore. Yeah. And the first 2 are kind of not World War II. They're like training, and we're getting to know the integrity of Captain Winters and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, when you get back to it, there's really just 2 or 3 great episodes, some of the greatest TV ever made in Band of Brothers, and a whole lot of other stuff.
I'm okay with the beginning. I do agree the end. It really, the end of any story can. At the end of the Lord of the Rings, it was like felt good to wrap up and give everybody their just, wherever they needed. But in this, it's like, come on, let's kill some more Nazis. Like just a few more. We can find some that won't surrender. That's what I want. I want them to be like, hey, winners, they say there's some Nazis up north that don't want to surrender. They say Hitler's still alive. Well,
gotta kill.
I want to go get those.
The last Nazis. Episode is about like 100%. I don't know, soldiers getting excited and having car accidents or something.
If Band of Brothers were made today, after its huge success, they'd be like, look, we need a season 2. How about they go to Brazil and look for Hitler? And
that would be awful.
They did a season 2, and it was Japan.
Captain Winters,
like honestly, with the Band of Brothers thing, I'm surprising you both like have that same take. Like, I disagree with Woody on the beginning part. I really like when they're like kind of
5
sizing up
5 miles down,
or Ross from Friends and Lieutenant Winters. Like, I really liked that development because it showed them like growing as a group. But you are right. Like the end of the series, it's almost like after they're in Hitler's hideout, the Eagle's Nest or whatever it's called. Like from there on, it's kind of like, okay, we're kind of meandering now. Whereas I think the end of the Pacific one is the one part that's better than the original, because the end of the Pacific one, the guy goes back and it's like really hammers home like how he's a totally different guy. Like he's changed. He's fucked up now. He will never be able to even engage with people who didn't experience that in a way that's real, because they can't possibly empathize with what he's been through. Like, and that was the Pacific series, which overall still solid.
I don't like
not
the
as
Pacific.
good.
I dislike the Pacific. I made it through it once, and every time I've tried afterwards, I always end up going, "Oh yeah, I don't like this. Oh, yeah, I don't really like this. This isn't fun at all. This is like about the horrors of war." I want to see like come on, give me a little bit of that John Wayne shit. Everybody now wants to be anti-war. Fuck you. No, give me that John Wayne shit. Give me the sad ending if you want, but I want to have some hoorah, blow up the bridge, and fucking Tom Hanks shooting at the tank, and then the fucking bombers come in. I want some happiness. I want some good times too. They
did make the Japs way scarier than the Nazis, as far as like the implication of like, you don't want to get captured by these Japanese. They'll saw your hands off and fucking inject shit in. Like they.
No, I think that's the case.
The stakes seem high.
I think that if the Germans took you captured, like whenever I'll say this, whenever I see a movie of a German prison camp and there's some Americans in it, they're like sassing the commandant and like wearing a leather jacket or something.
Yeah.
And the commandant is like, I will only let you go so far, my Kruger. And it's like, dude, the guy's got like doo-wop hair over there and a leather jacket on. How much farther are you going to let it? It always seems like it's not so bad in the Nazi prison camps for the Americans. They're like shot down
for the soldiers. Yeah.
The soldiers, the pure ones. But on the other hand, like I feel like the Japanese were just real awful pieces of shit. They're just scum.
Yeah,
and I was watching a great thing about the Japanese Zero today, and about how technologically advanced it was for its time. How the kill ratio was 12-1 in the Pacific.
Weren't they mostly just crashing it?
No. That's at the very end of the war. At the end of the war, when they didn't have any other way of, it was the last resort sort of thing. The Japanese Zero,
really cool.
The Zero outperformed everything it fought in the Pacific with a kill ratio of 12-1 in the early years.
No,
yes, the Air Force manual said to go to high altitude, to do a passing run on them, and then to go as fast and low as you could to escape, or you will die. Because they could not fight them at all. They would lose every dogfight at a ratio of 12-1. Yes, it was.
I had no idea we were getting wrecked.
It was so much better than anything the world had ever seen. The reports that came out of China, because the war for the Japanese began there, were that they were just shitting on them, and everybody in the West thought it was just exaggerations. They're like, yeah, the Chinese have biplanes. Of course they're getting shit on. But no, when they started fighting, they were getting destroyed. It was only after they captured a Zero and they were able to understand like how it was made and the things it was sacrificing to do all the things that I'm describing, to be so maneuverable, to have a 500-mile range. I think it was sacrificing a lot. It didn't have any armor. It was like a millimeter thick, the outside skin.
It was just too quick to hit for the guys.
It was too maneuverable, and it weighed like 2,000 pounds less than the American plane that was its counterpart, so it could just outmaneuver them at low speeds. So the doctor
12-1. That's a horrible ratio.
Yeah, that's not good. That's
for the first.
That's a real shit show.
We were losing that bad for years.
Yeah.
Damn. I never
in the air.
Huh. Well, yeah,
in the air and dog
that's
fights.
Important on the Pacific.
I suppose so. It was mostly carrier battles, but they were sinking ships too with other kinds of aircraft. No, it was really interesting because I think Howard Hughes, the piece of shit that he was like, clearly it's a stolen design of the Howard Hughes Speedcraft that I designed, of course. And like finally they captured one, right? Like because the Japanese doctrine was if your plane is going down, it should go down as hard as possible. It should be destroyed. If you can, burn it. The thing that sparked the whole Japanese internment camp movement, the like case they used was where after Pearl Harbor, one of those planes crashed on one of the islands. The way news went in those days, the locals didn't immediately know that there was a World War II had begun about Pearl Harbor. But long story short, some Japanese natives on that island allowed that pilot to escape custody, burn his plane, and shoot a couple of the natives there, injuring them in the whole process. And so they used that Japanese couple as the scapegoat, if you will, for the whole Japanese internment camp thing.
Huh.
But yeah, they finally captured one, and they saw how that one, like a single hit would destroy it. Just a lucky hit would. And they also saw that, I guess it wasn't very maneuverable at high speeds because it didn't have any hydraulics. It was,
so
sacrificing that.
What did the Americans in their existing planes do? Because they couldn't just be like, all right, shoot more accurately. Like, did they have to immediately go back to the drawing board, design a new plane kind of like the Zero, and then put the Americans in there?
Well, they had to change their tactics right away. Like I said, they could fly at a high. The Japanese Zero could climb to 33,000 feet or so, 34,000, 10,000 meters, and it could do it extremely fast. The American tactic was to stay high and to do one run as you like dove through the Japanese and then flee because their top speed was faster. If they dogfight, they were just going to die. And later they had better planes. They
back in World War II,
planes.
We were just not the power we are like we were later. Like,
we'll see.
Like we were getting owned by the German tanks in Europe at the same time, right?
So we had to like a potential fight with China, because I agree with what you're saying. Like we went in there and we didn't have the technology advantage. What we had was a manufacturing advantage.
Yeah.
And over time, we even had a technology advantage. I think Kyle was about to explain that as the new planes came in, the Spitfire, etc., we were better than the Zero. And that happened after 1942. Like, I think better Spitfires.
The Zero wasn't getting better every year. What the Zero was holy shit, you are 10 years ahead of your time when it matters. You have peaked on the tech tree in this one little area. Yeah. Right when you needed it, and they just shit on the whole world. But the Americans, they weren't just the Japanese had a system that could produce like 100 good pilots a month or something like that. They only had 550 total Zeros ever, I think, or at their highest number. But because they had that maybe 500-mile range, maybe it was 500 kilometers, really far, they were able to exert their influence on a much larger region with 550 planes than anyone could imagine. So they thought there were thousands of them because it seemed like there were, and they weren't losing a lot of them either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
it's really interesting. I'm impressed by your guys' World War II plane knowledge.
You gave me too much credit. I was reading the Wikipedia as Kyle was saying it. Like, everything he says is right.
When you said, I think it was after 1942, I was like, what? Like,
yeah. I had known that for seconds before I said it. But Kyle seemed to know it all. Anyway, if we were to get into a fight with China, would it be the same thing? Would we walk in there with better tanks, better carriers, better airplanes, and then they would have this manufacturing capability that allows them to do to us what we did during World War II?
I mean, they would push our, if it was a manufacturing battle, like they'd push our shit in. Like, it's not even close at this point. Like, so we'd have to have a really superior design.
I don't think any. I'm sure someone knows, but I don't think that I'm equipped to even begin to understand what that war would look like. I guess we're fighting over Taiwan, right? So,
if that's
what it is.
Like their backyard.
Oh yeah, we're fighting right there. When the Japanese are going to be there, New Zealand and Australia, the massive Pacific Fleet. Look, I'm always the guy like going oorah American power because God, we just outspend the rest of y'all 10-1 or some shit.
Yeah.
I just think
as long as that dollar is the trading currency of the world.
Look, I just think the U.S. is going to win every time because they outspend so much. I just think that when it comes down to it, like our shit'll just be a little better, and there will be more of it. And I don't know that the war is going to devolve to that 1950s thing where it's literally factories pumping out. We need more planes. If we need more planes, that suggests that we're losing planes. That we're losing them at a huge rate. That means we're losing pilots too, right? Like I don't know if
let's
either
say
country is really
both sides.
I don't think either country is set up to train new air forces full of pilots and get their 5th or 6th generation planes pumped out in a timely fashion. Planes don't work like that anymore.
Well, let me ask you, if there was a country between the US and China that could do that, would it be the US or would it be the country with all the manufacturing and with 5 times our population?
What kind of manufacturing are we talking about, Taylor? Are we talking about building shitty steel? Are we talking about building Chinese cars? Are we talking about building the cutting edge technology that you need to fly under advanced radar systems and deliver laser-guided, radar-guided bombs precisely and pinpointly to dissolve a country's entire infrastructure.
And to add on to what Kyle's saying, like, also, this is an environment where we're trying to invent new shit, not just copy what America did 5 years ago.
Because that's how it works if you're in, like, I'm sure you've seen those examples. There's the one guy in Band of Brothers, I think, who's got 4 Purple Hearts, and one of them was for lancing a boil on his ass that he got while in the field fighting the enemy. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't think we're going to count that boil on your ass. So, like, I shed blood in service of my country in the field of battle. Say I didn't. Well, you're actually
technically.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I heard that in Vietnam, that medals got much easier to earn. It was part of like a morale effort.
And there were way more people, percentage-wise, who were injured and wounded, right? Than World War II.
The amount of time that they were in combat was way more. Yeah. So I'm sure it was both. I'm sure they're like, hey, we don't have any bonuses or beer, but we got medals. Can we go home if we get a medal? Oh, no. We're going to need heroes for the fight ahead.
And also, people were protesting Vietnam, you know? Like, it was not a popular war at all. So, makes sense they might start dishing out the medals, I guess. Try and make people feel like, oh, we're rewarding the soldiers, you know? Stop spitting on them, please.
I think Vietnam's my second favorite war. Like, World War II takes the cake. Like, that's the fucking goat.
Wait, all-time wars? Both of your top two are in the 20th century? Oh, okay.
American wars.
No, like Napoleon's fucking champ.
That was a cool war.
You gotta go back to that.
He was the champ.
He's the champ. Like he conquered Europe. And they were like, get out of here. And he was like,
he became the king of Italy at one point, just throwing another W in the mix.
You know what they did to him after he like slaughtered all of Europe a couple times? They gave him his own island to retire on. Like what the fuck? Like get out of here.
Yeah, they banished him, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Banishment to his own private island with like a castle on it. Like
it's like a war hall of fame that he got to go live there.
But yeah, Vietnam is.
I didn't know he had servants and stuff.
That's a silver medal war there. Now I know people like to say, "Oh, America lost." Come on, like by what measurements did we lose? I don't think we ever lost a battle. Kill death ratio, battles won. You know, like all right, we all show up here and we fight it out.
Yeah, I feel like Kyle's playing
still
for
here
KD
and they're all
ratio,
dead.
and the Vietnamese played for wins. So at the end of the day,
they played domination.
They owned more land. They won domination. And Kyle got a good KD and thinks he did well, but you didn't.
But what if the ultimate goal of why we went to the war? You know, are we trying to? And I'm not saying that specifically for Vietnam. I mean, in general, would that not be considered the victory, is to obtain what your initial military goal was? You know, if that's toppling an empire, whatever it may be, taking over a capital city. However, if you don't achieve that goal, it then defaults to the KD ratio and domination, and by that we won big time, baby.
Yeah, it's our space race.
If you look at Vietnam today, you know, like. They're democratic, and I'm sure they've got, or not. I don't know if they're democratic or not. Probably, but you know, they're definitely on. They're capitalist, right? Yeah. And they seem to be on team us. It's interesting. I always hear that when Americans go there, they're like, "Hey,
don't shoot,
my cousin."
I had to look it up.
Welcome back.
Vietnam is a socialist republic with a one-party system led by the Communist Party. So that's pretty.
That doesn't sound good.
I mean, to be fair,
that is an L.
I'm down with that and all. I get that, but I also say that most communist countries, or quote unquote communist countries, have no choice but to engage in some form of capitalist trade with capitalist countries. You know, so they're like functionally they're capitalist, but in regard to oppressing their people, they're socialist.
Yeah,
But if all it takes to like qualify as capitalist is like some form of trade, then every nation is capitalistic.
That's a good point. Yeah. I was thinking more of like the global market of exchanging currencies and things, as opposed to, you know, them trying to be self-contained and we can take care of this ourselves. But that's a very good point. I mean, bartering is bartering. It is a part of all trade systems.
What surprised me, the third largest weapons exporter on the planet is South Korea.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Rather than South Korea. Apparently,
they got Russia and then South Korea?
Yes. For export.
South Korea is probably going to be ahead of them this year.
Ahead of Russia?
I think I heard that too. Yeah. Because Russia's
exports.
not exporting anymore. Yeah.
They need their guns.
And South Korea apparently makes really good shit because South Korea and North Korea have been prepping for war for 70 years. Their stockpiles are enormous. North Korea tends to go with huge stockpiles of shitty stuff,
And South Korea tends to go with smaller stockpiles of more high-tech stuff, which is why their exports are interesting.
Yeah, Europe's arming itself right now. Poland in particular is building the biggest military in Europe right now, and they're buying they're buying a mix. It seems like they're like, I like the South Korean radar jammers, but I love those American planes. You got any of those South Korean body armor? That's the good shit. They're like taking they're I'll take some of this and some of that. Yeah. So they bought a bunch of stuff from us, and I know they bought a bunch of stuff from them. And when I say a bunch of stuff, they're buying like $300 million worth of shit at a time. It's great.
They should buy from every country. They should play every side, so they always come out on top. Have a little bit of Russian stuff, a little Korean stuff, a little American.
So the
stuff.
reason they're not buying Russian stuff is then you become dependent on Russia to maintain your shit. And if they're the people attacking you, you're in a tricky spot.
Come on, Matt.
I thought Russian shit was super easy to maintain because it's like older and like
you need parts though, right? So like the Russian, if you have a whole fleet of MiGs and Russia and you're going to war with someone who's an ally of Russia, even like one of the stands or something, then Russia will be like, oh, no more parts for your helicopters. And something like a helicopter that needs all that air maintenance that needs new whatever the fuck and new rotors or whatever. Yeah. It's like, we need those or we can't fly them. The U.S. did that to Iran back in the day. Iran had a lot of U.S. planes, F-14 Tomcats, I think. Like, oh, wow. Good luck with that. Yeah. You got about 500 more operational hours before they all need an O-ring that only we make, and immediately they just had a bunch of junk.
Tanks too. Apparently it's super common for tanks to get damaged but not destroyed. So, you just haul them back, fix them, put them back in service. But if you don't have parts, you're in trouble.
Tanks are so cool.
Formal warfare.
At the start of the Ukrainian war, there was a conversation about whether tanks were obsolete because they kind of seemed that way. It seemed like they were super expensive and hard to make and just a big investment. And it wasn't that big a deal to break tanks. But as it's carried on, it turns out you need tanks.
It's been the war continues on. I really hope that it just never ends. I'm a big fan of the war. Fan is the word. Fan is the word.
Bad news for you. At this rate, Ukraine takes all their territory back in just 67 years.
So,
eat a day.
Eat your heart out.
Is nothing moving over there now?
So
67 years.
All right. The short answer to that is yes. It's not moving very much. The long answer is Russia has a lot of their defenses kind of stacked right up on the front line. And Ukraine is making progress at piercing that front line, but very little. But you can't say what I just did, which is, it's going to take 67 years to reach the sea. Because once you really properly penetrate that front line, then you can pick up miles per day. And that is the way it's trending. But slow start. But then, once you break through, you can probably get all the way to the sea. Anyway, so they're kind of breaking through. Let's hope that turns into better land gains.
Let's hope they stop funding it with all of our money. That would be great. Maybe spend a little here for our people.
Yeah, that's not what they'll do. That's not what they'll do at all. They'll just do a tax cut for corporations or something.
Yeah,
that's what they did before.
This is money well spent.
Into another proxy war.
Loving it. This is our fate. This is the best proxy war we've had. Maybe
you're
ever.
Crazy.
This is better. This is like Afghanistan 1 when we were given the stingers to the Mujahideen, the gallant men of the Mujahideen. And those fucking Russians came over.
Yes. And Afghanistan panned out so well.
I mean, not for the Russians.
Yeah, Taylor, I don't think anything ever went wrong.
Don't bring up Afghanistan 2 when I'm talking about Afghanistan 1.
I mean, it's a series.
Bringing up 9/11.
That's it. That's why
you're crazy if you just want to fund this shit forever.
Against the common advice, I have forgotten 9/11, and it was a really good idea to fund the Afghanis.
Yeah, we should fund this as long as they want to fight.
You're crazy.
It's beautiful. It's a great thing. No Americans are dying, Taylor. It's just it's just pennies. It's just pennies, not a big deal. Yeah, pennies, Don't worry about it.
Enormous sums of money.
Tiny amounts of money in the grand scheme of things.
It's so much money.
Kyle's right though.
Here's how I think of it. Not only are we, because our weapon systems are doing so well, all those countries around the world who are seeing the planet a bit destabilized right now are like, give me $1 billion worth of American shit. Give me $2 billion of it. So we're selling lots of weapons right now, which is a great thing.
Wait, your problem was that the money wasn't going to go to American people, but it goes to Halliburton and Lockheed, and so it's like good now.
Yes.
So wait, you wanted it to go to American people, but now that it goes to American people, you're not happy? Come on.
Those aren't American people. Those are
some are.
Giant
they make the shells in Alabama,
companies.
Taylor. They make the shells in Alabama.
Why don't we fix our fucking roads and get universal health care?
They make the shells in Alabama, Taylor. Do you care about? Oh, now it's big business and infrastructure, but the poor son bitch in Alabama that's making artillery shells.
Give me fucking health care.
He's getting triple overtime. God damn it, Taylor. This is great for our economy, which needs it right now because we're about to slip into that recession they've been talking about for half a decade. It's wonderful.
But this time it's real.
Wondrous. This time it's real. We promise. The economists scream, and I don't know anything enough to disagree. But this is wonderful, Taylor. Like our enemies are bleeding. All right. So think about it this way: we were already going to spend X amount of money on, say, national defense. That's based on the threats around the world, right? We're like, we need to be able to fight a global war on two different oceans, right? That's been our military mantra since World War II. Every day the Russians get weaker as a military. That means we don't need as big of a military anymore. Now, I'm not saying they're going to cut the military, but if a war were to pop off between us and Russia proper, man, it's going to be a weakened Russia. It's going to be a weakened Russia. They look bad in front of their allies. It's easier for us to make deals and bully China and win little territorial things because their ally Russia looks
tangible
so shitty and
games for Americans, though.
Tangible. You want tangibility and geopolitics? This is fun. This is James Bond shit.
No, we want better roads.
You know, they sent a commando
in
on a jet ski the other day, and he got
we could do that at like a fucking show off the
that
coast.
Guy's ass right now. It wasn't our guy though. That's the best part, Taylor. It's their guys. They just want some spending money.
I can't believe you guys are still in favor.
I love it. I love it.
Long.
I can't wait till we really start giving them cool shit. I'm glad the Abrams tanks are about to arrive that they've been training on for a whole fucking year. I can't wait to see that. One's never been destroyed by a hostile like fire.
I think they've arrived.
Well, I want to see them on the battlefield. I want to see. I've already seen propaganda of burnt ones on the battlefield from Russia.
You just watch movies? Like in
movies, they don't have Abrams in movies. They dress up chieftains and stuff.
I watch combat footage. Movies.
This is great. I don't know what your
not a very good ROI.
You
it's
don't
the best
American
ROI
dollars
ever.
Actually getting some.
It's
some
not
work done.
We spent it's like 3% of our defense budget goes.
That's
to
so much
it's
money.
A tiny amount, but it's like compared to our defense budget, it means nothing. And it's not like we're giving them new Humvees. We're giving them Humvees that we would have otherwise sent to police or just mothballed.
What were we going to do with those
20-year-old Humvees that were going to be?
Who are we going to artillery strike, Taylor? Who?
We could have spent it on something else.
Taylor, we're giving them artillery. I'm just.
It doesn't.
saying.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like you're locked up and it has to go to the army.
They make them in Alabama. They make the artillery shells in Alabama, and they make the fucking anti-tank rockets in Alabama. And there's a dude in Alabama named fucking Pete or some shit. And he's got double overtime because we're funding Zelensky. And I like that.
Printing money and inflation is ridiculous.
What's new? It's $33 trillion. Did you know that's the deficit?
It's going up every day.
Trillion.
More than ever in a day, a couple days ago.
No one cares, though. That's made up money. A trillion's an impossible number to even fathom. I don't care.
It's definitely real money. It's
I don't think it is. I don't believe it is. I think once you get to 33 trillion, we're at the point where everyone knows that, hey, if we were to actually try to make the U.S. pay, we would just start some sort of a global war with us, right? And then they would change press delete and ask if we wanted peace, right? I think it'll be okay, Taylor. Make it 35 trillion and let's kill some Ruskies.